So this is an absolutely beautiful property, really special, historic heritage, and it needs to be maintained properly.
Dam surveys. The only way to stop damp is to trace water to its source.
So you have two issues. One is penetrating damp, the other is mould from excess vapor. You only ever get mould from excess vapor. It can be made worse by penetrating damp, but the area in the kitchen is primarily because the kitchen extractor fan isn't vented out. And I suspect you also get a lot of heat loss on that wall, which just makes the whole situation a lot worse. But penetrating damp is where I think your biggest focus needs to be. And I think that ultimately comes down to the wrong choice of paint. I believe that your original render would have been made of lime and that you've got a semi-permeable paint applied to it. You should have a permeable paint like a lime-based paint. I think you're going to have to employ a heritage specialist builder to paint it, because it's dangerous to apply the wrong material. So basic is if it's impermeable, if it's cement-based render, which a lot of the modern day renders are, and a lot of the pebble dash type renders are impermeable, then you need to apply an impermeable paint to impermeable render. If it's a permeable, so it's breathable, it allows water to be absorbed into it and then it releases it slowly, then it needs to have a similar permeability. And if it doesn't, what happens is the water gets in, it gets trapped behind the semi-permeable sort of weather shield type paint. It doesn't evaporate out and it comes in, and that's why you've got the brown staining. And what you can end up having is rot. There were no signs of rot at the time of the survey, but you have a risk. There's a lot of timber next to the area of ingress, and I think this will fail. If you wish to sell the property, then I think you'll get a big marked down by any RIC surveyor, and I think you need to face up to the cost now. It probably will be quite substantial, I'm afraid to say. But the mould you can deal with relatively easily, and that is a simple case of using a dehumidifier. Ideally, you would have an extractor fan, or anyway, as a minimum, cook with tops on pots and pans to reduce the amount of vapor produced. Keep as much airflow as you can. If you're drying clothes internally, use a dehumidifier. Ideally, you'll have it outside as much as possible. I improved the bathroom extractor fan. One bathroom didn't have an extractor fan at all, so just keep those windows open. You've got that small sort of conservatory area. You want to be keeping windows open there, and don't dry clothes there. Run a dehumidifier. I probably have two 20-litre dehumidifiers in a property like yours. The ensuite bathroom, I improved it, but keep the doors closed, and a really simple solution is just keep the lights on so that the fan is running. It will go a long way to solve it, but another key thing is to monitor the internal vapor levels by using the data loggers. You want to keep the internal dew point below the outside temperature. As things are warming up, it's relatively easy, but you have to be aware that during the day it can be quite humid. You open the doors, you ventilate during the day, and then at night people will be reluctant to keep the heat on, and they'll still be using all the vapor or the bathroom extractor fan and the bathroom shower and the kitchen, drying clothes, and won't be heating the place. So you get the double-edged sword of all the vapor, but none of the heat. So use a dehumidifier and a fan to speed up the process. That small section of wall, you can probably get away with a non-lime base render on the outside, but I think for the rest of the property, it's probably a heritage requirement anyway. Have a listen to the data loggers. So here are the data loggers. It's at damp.ai/detect. This is preloaded, but the way you do that is you load your CSV files, which you will have downloaded from the app. And then I'm putting the damp wall as the kitchen because that's where the mould is, and obviously the bathroom is a source, although I think probably vapor is mainly coming from the kitchen. Temperature at the time of the survey was 11.3. The importance of this is to work out the surface relative humidity, because the data loggers themselves will measure a temperature, but it could be in the center of the room and it's not reflecting the cold part. Anyway, this shows the surface relative humidity, the green line here, and it's peaking at 100% regularly. And I guess that would align with when food is cooking. I think what's happening is you're getting a lot of vapor because the kitchen extractor fan is not externally ducted. I suspect you weren't aware of that. This blue line here is the dew point line. It's a measure of the amount of vapor in air expressed as degrees centigrade. It's also the temperature where condensation takes place at. And you want to keep that below the outside temperature, this pink line here. If you were in a perfectly ventilated property, you would have the same internal vapor as the external vapor, because you'd be replacing internal air with external air, and this light blue line is the external vapor. Clearly you're not achieving that. The vapor outside is going up, and when it's going up, so you're getting less benefit from ventilation, so you need to increase your ventilation when it's raining outside, or use dehumidifier. This here is the dew point differential line, this thin line here, and at this point it's telling me you're getting more vapor in the kitchen compared to the bathroom, and then you get improvement towards the end. I think that's after I sent you the update from the survey. Anyway, you want to just increase the vapor extraction. So in any property, you're going to have areas at risk of high surface relative humidity because of excess vapor, but also because of heat loss. And that particular wall is very thin, and I think you're always going to struggle with mold on it unless you insulate it. So I would recommend either space therm, which is something I use a lot myself, but it's expensive, or thermal lining paper, or in fact, indeed, for that section of wall, you could use Celotex, although some people describe it as the work of the devil because it stops any breathing, but for a short section it may not be so bad, but you need to sort out the external render, and really that should be the big focus of your work, is the render, and I really think with the heritage property you need to be replacing the render and or paint on the render with a lime. So in summary, the key problem is the render, and I think it's a lime-based render. A specialist heritage company will be able to tell you more and be able to paint it for you. And there are plenty. You'll see a lot of people get in touch with me on the channel below in the comments, offering their services as lime specialists. So there is work around. There are opportunities out there, and I think you have to do it properly, and it will add immense value to the property having it done properly. And the internal paint, inevitably you're going to use a stain block, but don't try and hide the problem. Deal with it. Otherwise, a good surveyor will spot the risk, if not the actual evidence.
Dam surveys. The only way to stop damp is to trace water to its source.